Hello, Internet. Hello, everyone. Welcome to ChaiCast. This is essentially a podcast about South Asians blazing the field of artificial intelligence. And you can think of it as a conversation between two really close friends who are really passionate about chai and South Asia and artificial intelligence. So, hello. Maybe Rupal, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Rupal Nigam. I'm currently a PhD student at University of Illinois out in Urbana-Champaign, and I'm working on human-machine teaming research using reinforcement learning algorithms and all of that fun stuff. And I got my computer science bachelor's degree from University of Michigan, which is actually where Isha and I met.
Awesome. Yeah. So, as far as my background, I also, as Ripple mentioned, went to the University of Michigan. I majored in computer engineering, initially interested in physics during high school, decided on engineering during undergrad. Both my parents are immigrants, and I stay connected to my Indian roots through Hindustani classical music and through drinking chai every day. Right now, I'm working remotely as an embedded software engineer at Disney Streaming. And as far as my background in AI, I'm not really an expert. I'm not an AI engineer. I'm still learning a little bit about the field. I've done a few deep learning projects through coursework, kind of just read papers on the side in my free time. But within AI, I'm interested in how models can best get optimized for the compute resources that have different limitations, memory limitations, power constraints. And this is kind of something I think about every day as an embedded software engineer. So yeah, that's just kind of what I'm interested in within AI. Kind of why we started this is there are a lot of resources and a lot of platforms out there right now that have emerged since the start of the pandemic, and they have been all within the South Asian community, sharing South Asian news and mental health and social justice resources. There are a lot of South Asian professionals who have grown a ton and have emerged a lot since the start of the pandemic. Small businesses have been emerging a lot too, journalism, media, all of these things. And sort of inspired by all this work, we want to highlight all the things that South Asian professionals are doing within the field of artificial intelligence because it's a really important field within technology, but with across multiple different sectors. So yeah, I guess Rupal, do you want to talk about what AI is and sort of yeah, how it's important and stuff?
Yeah, I want to also kind of reiterate what you kind of touched on before is that neither of us are experts in AI, even if we've like used it in a few things here and there. So this hopefully you're not using this to like study for an AI class or
Oh
anything.
yeah.
More for general audiences, and main goal, as Isha said, is for kind of uplifting South Asian voices in the field, but to get everyone on the same page. So, AI, so as a Stanford computer science professor has said, John McCarthy, it is the science and engineering of making intelligent machines, especially intelligent computer programs. It is related to the similar task of using computers to understand human intelligence, but AI does not have to confine itself to methods that are biologically observable. So in general, AI systems, they will take in some sort of data as input, and this form of data can be like totally different from each other. Like it could be our voices, or it could be a camera observation. So it takes in some form of data, and then it uses neural network models or other types of models to make some sort of prediction using that input, and then we get an output from that. So that in a nutshell is what AI, and maybe more specifically what machine learning is. And kind of going in line with the fact that we're not experts or professors or educators or anything, we won't be talking about any technical details or going through any proofs or derivations. But when terms like artificial intelligence or other popular terms like graph neural networks come up, we will kind of go over the general definition just so everyone, all of our listeners, are on the same page there.
Yeah, that was a great explanation, Rupal. Couldn't have said it better myself. I think Ripple made a really good point that this podcast is more geared towards the general audience, which is why we also want to touch on why AI is important. And it's not just important to the people who are developing algorithms, who are creating new data sets, who are managing teams that are developing and leveraging artificial intelligence. In the words a of a Stanford professor, Andrew Ng, AI is the new electricity. And he's right, because electricity powers every industry today. It powers your whole room, it powers your house and your car and everything. And AI is going to be, and really it is now in the same vein. And, computing devices and the devices that we have and their performance are these devices are becoming increasingly capable of handling such complex models that are being proposed in papers and in theory, and they're becoming more realizable because of the devices that are being developed. And AI is really useful. It's useful in industries including medicine and healthcare, retail, streaming, space exploration, banking, manufacturing, and the list goes on. And at the same time, AI is new. It's still very, very new. And so ethics and regulations are going to be really, really important. And so while the technology continues to emerge, it's going to be equally important to sort of work with policymakers and work on AI policies to make sure that it integrates really well with society. And so for this podcast, we want to interview anyone who's connected to AI, not just engineers. So they might be people who are working on patents for AI. They might be directors, they might be CEOs, anybody really, investors. So yeah. Yeah, so I guess as far as the topic for today, as mentioned in the title of this podcast, we're going to be talking about chai. So we're not really going to be talking too much about AI yet. We're going to be talking about the origins of chai, what it is, and yeah, we named it Chai Cast, so we might as well talk about it, right? Yeah. So, what is chai?
Yeah, so traditionally, chai is South Asian tea, and it's usually made with some, ginger and spices such as cardamom, milk, and then either sugar or honey. But the origins of chai and tea itself kind of go way back. There's not really a general consensus on exactly when, so anywhere between 5 to 9,000 years ago. As the story goes, there was a king in a royal court in India, or some people even say Siam, and the king had requested a healing Ayurvedic drink. And so this drink eventually became chai. This original drink, it didn't have any actual tea leaves in it though until the 1800s. And tea itself didn't really get popular until the 1900s, which is when the India Tea Company advertised tea super aggressively. And the way they advertised it was by making tea breaks for workers. So there's some nice corporation capitalism daily dose there. And in 1870, so these numbers are really wild, but in 1870, 90% of the tea consumed by the British came from China, and this became 10% in 1900. So just a few decades went from 90% to 10% because they started sourcing their tea from India. The Chinese supply of tea became disrupted because of the Opium Wars. So, in addition to our capitalism, we have some drug wars here as well. Lots of hot topics. And that's basically when Britain turned to India. And a lot of you have probably heard of the British East India Company. They established tea plantations in areas such as Assam. And this was pretty problematic. There was poverty-stricken populations because of this kind of new regime for tea plantations, and it's still a huge problem today, which is something we want to touch on a little more in detail in a bit here. And just coming back to modern day, so 1960s and moving forward, tea became even more popular because we had a factory and mechanized way of making tea. So those little tea bags that you'll see in grocery stores pretty often. You just like tear the little bag and dip it, so it's very easy to make now for everyone, and it's gotten super popular again.
Yeah. Yeah, as Rupal mentioned, I mean, tea has a lot of deep history in Asia, in South Asia and in East Asia. And I kind of want to touch on that last one of the last points she made about the tea plantations in Assam, and the fact that when these tea plantations were started, it was problematic. There were a lot of problems, and the British Raj was exploiting the locals in that area. And so it's sad, honestly. Like, we were sort of looking into the history of tea, and I was just shook. Like, this was crazy. But while this tea has not been sourced ethically in the past in both South Asia and in Africa, actually, we are making progress. Yes, it's still a huge problem today, and we have a long way to go, but there are actually nonprofit organizations working directly with tea companies to improve the lives of tea workers, farmers, and their environments. And so, what you can do is, like, look into those organizations, and see how you can get involved. There are ways to get involved, as a become a member of those organizations, and potentially even donate to them. And even in small ways too. The next time you go to an Indian grocery store and you want to buy tea, and when you grab it off the shelf, do a quick Google search on your phone, and check, how is this company sourcing their tea? Are they sourcing it ethically? Are they working with these nonprofit organizations to improve the lives of these tea workers? Do your research on it, and I think that's something I'm definitely going to be doing the next time I go to an Indian grocery store. Yeah, I guess as far as tea today, tea is really popular, or chai specifically is very popular today. Um, and if you go to any coffee shop, you'll see chai tea latte as like an item on the menu, but chai tea latte is not actually a thing. The actual translation of chai tea latte is tea milk milk. So yeah. Just like keep that in mind. So if you want to say chai tea, don't say chai tea, say chai. um and I don't know, I think it's pretty cool that chai has like made its way over to the Western world. I feel like things have sort of come full circle, although I personally prefer my homemade chai over coffee shop chai. And it's, I don't know, it's one of those things that's been adopted by the Western world, just like yoga and turmeric and all that. But if you do go to India at any point, you should grab fresh chai from the chaiwala. Chaiwala is like a barista essentially, who makes the chai, and you'll get really nice garam karak chai, hot piping hot chai. Yeah, and you can make chai at home. You can make chai from scratch. Loose leaf tea with a kettle, masala, sugar. Instead of sugar, you could use honey. We use honey at home. I used to get the instant chai packets. My nana and nani sent the chai packets from India all the time, or they used to send them a lot when I was in college, and we get them from Indian grocery stores and stuff too. So yeah, Rupal, what's your relationship like with chai?
Yeah, I guess this will be kind of amusing, or maybe it will make some listeners despise me, but I actually grew up really not liking chai. The main reason for this is my parents are huge, freshly grated ginger fans. And ginger, I have a sensitive palate, so something that strong, like freshly grated ginger, kind of doesn't hit me the right way, and they always make chai like that with an excessive amount of ginger, and they know it too. We're kind of known as the ginger chai house because that's the only way that they make their chai. And so I didn't like it growing up, and like kind of in addition to that, the only time I was really forced to drink chai was when I was sick. So I think this
Oh.
is probably a very like brown Indian family kind of thing to
Oh my
do,
god.
is if you have um, the slightest cough or sniffle, there you go, chai down your throat. I remember seeing a lot of like, I don't know, I guess like jokes or whatever you want to call it throughout the pandemic, even now, is like, yeah, Indians they've got chai to help them, fight COVID.
Right. Or turmeric milk. Or turmeric milk. Or turmeric
Yes,
water.
yeah. Yes.
One of those.
But yeah, that's why I didn't really like it. And to me, there was no other tea than chai. So, like, in my mind, it was the same thing. Like, this is the only way tea is made. And so I went, like, I don't know, at least, like, even throughout high school, I went through a lot of my life just not having my identity being the coffee person and never anything to do with any type of tea. I didn't care that there's like black tea and green tea and whatever. I didn't want anything to do with it. And then in college, I just like the people I was hanging out with and things like that. I actually ended up getting back into this like world of chai and tea and learning and tasting all of these different ones. And now it's like it's a yeah, it's part of my life again and I don't hate it.
Rupal, I remember maybe we did this a couple times where we went to your apartment or someone else's apartment on campus and like
Mhm.
somebody like would make fresh chai and like we would just sit there and like have chai after class. Oh, I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was definitely that sort of, I guess, informal routine, if you want to call it that, that we had there. That is probably a big reason why I kind of got back into
Mhm.
chai. And yeah, I have chai packets and other forms of tea bags in my pantry right now, even though none of those like original college friends live with me. It's like just for me. So
Aw.
it's back in my life.
Aw.
I remember we joked and talked about making like a chai club on campus.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah, well, all you need is like six people to like say, yeah, we want a chai club, and then you get like X amount of like startup funding, and we're like, we want to get custom mugs and shirts made.
Oh my gosh. Yo, that's so smart. Wow, I'm
Yeah, but then
surprised.
COVID happened.
Oh.
Never did got a chance to do it.
Oh no. So if anybody wants to start a chai club.
Yes.
I love that. Wait, that's so cute. I love it. I definitely would have joined. I definitely would have joined and
Oh
forced
yeah,
all of my
you
friends to
yes.
join.
You would have had to be there. Yeah,
Oh
but
yeah.
yeah, drinking tea and like just chatting or like playing board games and stuff, that was kind of what we did
Oh
to
yeah.
de-stress. Yep.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, and yeah, I guess for me, like my relationship with chai, so we full disclosure, we say chai at home. Like I say chai, I don't say chai. Like, like I don't know if this is like the first time I said it in front of a couple of friends, they're like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Oh, nothing." It's chai. Yeah, but I knew what chai was before I knew what coffee was. Kind of like Rupal, I wasn't a huge fan of chai. I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it. So there's that, but it wasn't my lifeline like it is now. It kind of started off with the biscuits. We would sit down and have chai and whatever, and I just wanted to have the biscuits cuz it's like having cookies. So but then it became a big part of my life once I got to college cuz I was missing home and I missed home and it reminded me of home and uh yeah, and so I used to carry the instant chai packets everywhere. It definitely wasn't anything like when we were at whoever's apartment having fresh cha, but it was a good supplement and we would pick them up from Indian grocery store or whatever. Um Now I'm just a full-time software engineer and a chai geek, so now you can see me just sitting there typing away and drinking my cha. So that's my not hate love story, but I guess my relationship with cha.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think we both really love cha. I think that's probably what everyone has gathered here, but we want to keep the ethics in mind too, as we mentioned earlier, with the plantations and everything. And AI can help too. Like the nonprofits are doing a lot of awesome work, but AI can help too. And at some point, something like agricultural robotics is going to help, and it's going to make the environment a lot easier and automate some parts of that whole harvesting process or other parts of the tea production and sourcing process, and make people's lives a little bit easier. Okay, so that sort of concludes all that we had to talk about today for this episode. But we kind of want to wrap up with just some logistical things for this podcast. So, firstly, we plan on doing once a month for all of our episodes. It might change, but we're going to start with that. And through TriCast, we want to give, like we said, want to give a platform for South Asians working in artificial intelligence to tell their stories and discuss the work that they've been doing, their challenges. And these South Asians, many of them are immigrants, they're children of immigrants, they're South Asians living in South Asia still. And so all of them will have unique stories about upbringing and their education and the work culture and the things that they've had to adjust to. And we also want to understand how AI can help South Asian communities if that's possible. And we really want to bring in people, not just people who are AI engineers or researchers. We want to bring in, of course, the research and academics in AI. We want to bring in co-founders and entrepreneurs, industry leaders, investors, people in the legal sector, because they will all have different perspectives about this explosion of AI in our society. So, yeah, that concludes our episode. Thank you guys all for listening. And until next time, chai lovers.